Welcome back to Division I Rejects. I'm your host, Kobe Manzo. Episode 130 tonight. Feels like the episodes are just starting to all kind of combine together. But this one's a really great one. Certainly remember this one for a long time. We've got Peewee Jarrett, the quarterback from West Florida, joining us once again tonight, returning guest. And then the leading tackler for West Texas A&M, JT Cavender, their middle linebacker, joins us here later from the Buffaloes. We talk about their live mascot, Buffalo Thunder. That was an awesome conversation with JT. That man is just an awesome dude. If you want to fast forward to those conversations, feel free to check out the chapters, the timestamps in the YouTube description. Also, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, those times will be listed in the description. Otherwise, I'm going to cover some Week 4 game previews, Division II-wise. We got our first player of the week selections to go over, guys. And then Jimmy Martin, per usual, will join me for some D3 games to look for. Our player of the week selections are actually really fun, so I'm excited to go over those. We had some guys put up some freaking numbers, and personally, I did not realize how difficult it was going to be to actually go through. Picking games of the week is one thing. It's much easier to check the whole landscape. Players of the week is ridiculously hard because what are your criteria? How do you weigh which person outperformed the other when their stats are so similar? But nonetheless, we did it. We're collaborating with Michael over there at the College Football Network. Excited about that stuff. We've got some great games to talk about. Some different teams to talk about too. Try to switch it up a little bit. We'll talk about a little bit Barton, Mars Hill, Indianapolis, Saginaw Valley, Nebraska Kearney, and Pitt State. Obviously, Mines and CSU Pueblo have a great game this coming Saturday. So stick around for all those conversations, the D3 talk, our guest conversations. Watch this episode on YouTube if you are. Appreciate you. Please hit subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on the socials. Otherwise, it is what it is. Another episode of D1 Rejects. Let's get right into that first guest conversation with Peewee. Joining the show tonight, the man who goes by Peewee. He's the quarterback for the West Florida Argonauts down in Pensacola. It's Byron Jarrett. What's up, dude?
What's up, man? I appreciate y'all having me.
Good to get you back, dude. It's been a minute. When was the last time you were here?
I think it wasn't like February, March.
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I think it was in the spring. I think I just got off crutches.
That's right. Yeah. It was.
Yep.
For sure, dude. But I guess jumping right into it, man. Talk to me about that FAMU game. How about the energy leading up to that one? I know that's you guys are pretty close proximity wise when it comes to location, right? So talk about the energy leading up to that game.
Yeah, I think we like 2 hours, 2.5 hours away from each other.
Okay.
It was a crazy atmosphere and energy leading up to the game. It was definitely a hostile event, I would say. It's two teams. I think we scrimmaged back in 2020, like before I got here and everything. So, it was just two really good teams that, got to finally play each other. In-state, first team we played in-state in a long time. So, just getting the chance to play against them and, go against competition and, see where we're at as a team was, it was definitely fun. The environment was crazy, though.
I feel that, dude. Yeah, and Coach Anise from Ferris was talking about, because obviously they were at Montana, and he was like, besides the fact that it's a win-win for Ferris, because you go in there and lose, it's like, okay, it's an FCS team, but you go in there and win, all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, it was an FCS team. But besides that fact, he talked a lot about the atmosphere and why it was important to go and play in those atmospheres, because like Ferris, you guys want to prepare yourselves right now for a deep playoff run because you feel like that's where you can be come November, come December, whenever. How do you feel like that live up to kind of those expectations?
Yeah, it was definitely, kind of a moment where you kind of got punched in the mouth a little bit. And, you had to see where, as a team, where we were at. And, I feel like we're in a great spot as a team. We went up against, another great team, upper-level FCS team. And, I feel like, there was a lot of things and, plays that could have been made and the outcome would have been changed. But, just going into GSC play, a little bit more humbled, after, 2 wins. And then but we're tied up 3-3 at half and didn't come out with the win, but we definitely came out with a lot of lessons learned for sure.
I feel that. And that's what I wanted to say too, is going into half 3-3, I was tuned in. I watched ever since I think it was halfway through the first quarter I tuned in. So I got most of the game that I was checking out. But yeah, going into half 3-3, it was like both defenses just doing a great job of keeping the other offense out of rhythm, right? Like I feel like you couldn't get to a point where you got in system, you got to, really start to expand and flex the playbook a little bit because you were just trying to make some off-errand throws and they were getting in there, getting pressure. But how were they doing that? What were they able to do that, like I said, kept you off rhythm and kept you maybe from, some of those easier kind of pitch and catch?
Yeah, they were just, they were bringing some pressure. For the most part, we were picking it up. We just kept finding ourselves in, not a lot of great play calls for 3rd and 12, 3rd and long. So
Yeah.
we kind of were beating ourselves, getting behind the sticks, maybe a holding penalty or just a procedural penalty right then and there that first half. So we never got to, get a good drive rolling. We had a couple good kick returns called back. So I wouldn't say the rest were, great situations, but they definitely weren't trying to help out a little bit. But our defense was lights out really the whole night.
Yeah.
People see 31 points and they think, oh, they scored a lot. Our defense was locked down. They just, we couldn't really keep them off the field for, get their rest. Get our defense, some rest. But it was a great game for both sides. Our special teams did great. Just got to go back to the drawing board and get ready for GSC play now.
Yeah, and a lot of that, like you said, is like positioning, right? When your defense get on the field and they're playing with the short field, there's not much they can do in that spot. But up until that point, they let up a field goal basically in your first 2 games, and then they come out still, like you said, scoreboard is deceiving, still had a great performance. A defense is going to cause some problems this year, I think, huh?
Yeah, that D-line is.
Dude.
I went against for 4 weeks, and it was not, it was not fun. Our O-line is great, and going against them, our O-line was like, man, it was really like 2 great groups going against each other, the whole camp. And
that's big.
Made our O-line way better, and, our O-line made our D-line way better. They get out there them first 3 games, I think we had like double-digit sacks after 2 games. It was crazy. We have multiple guys with multiple sacks. So, they're just getting home, really they're aggressive. They just want to get to that ball and kill everything around it.
That's exactly what it is, bro. Johnny Mack living in the backfield over there?
Man, he get I ain't gonna lie, that boy get busy.
He do. And the thing, you put him on the outside, you put him inside, and technically, should be undersized to play that inside spot. I don't know what he's playing at now. His weight fluctuated a ton when he was up here, but he's so crafty, man. His hand movements, the way and his motor is ridiculous. You take that, you add another transfer like the guy we've had on here, Dorn, and some other great guys in that D-line, dude. That was something coming into the season. I was like, because you talk about Coach Mello from Davenport making his way down there, bringing some of this top-tier GLIAC talent down to Pensacola, dude. Like, you just never know on paper how that shit's gonna turn out, but we've seen it now. Like, that's gonna be exciting stuff, dude. But 3 games now into the Coach Nobles era, I guess, if you call it. I don't know if there's a better way to say that, but it is what it is. If you want to call it that, what have you learned already from this guy who has been quite literally in your shoes and has what seems like a hell of a football brain?
Yeah, he he always pushed me to be better, no matter what it is. If it was a practice rep or a game rep, he always wants me to, play at the highest level because you never know who's watching. And, there's always ways you can get better. But also just like he's easy to, work with, like whatever we're comfortable most as an offense or as a team, he wants us to be comfortable at all times. So, he's really a great players coach, and he understands because, he's literally, like you said, been in our shoes recently. So, for him to just be understanding, and, I feel like that's one way our team just molds well because, we got a coach who, he's more laid back, but, if he got to, turn it up a notch, he can definitely turn it up. So, it's been great to, play under him. I hope we got, 10 more games, 12 more games, left to do this all the way to the Natty.
I like that, dude. I like the sound of that. That'll be, I'm just with you. I'm excited to see that. And the great thing about football is that you have a chance to redeem yourself this week, right? Flush it. You got a great one coming up back at home versus West Georgia. They just won a close one over Mississippi College. Again, don't have to give me the details, but talk about this one coming up against the Wolves, man. I think the last one before they go D1, correct?
I think they're going D1 2024. So,
it's
I
crazy.
think it's their last. Yeah, it's crazy. GSC losing a lot of people. So, it's crazy how that ended up molding together next year.
We might need a little GSC GLIAC merger, man. That'd be.
I need to do something.
Super conference talks.
So
that's. I mean, I don't know how much of it is out there, but Grand Valley supposedly applied to be Division I and joined the MAC and got denied. But I would assume they'll be out of here very shortly. But that'd be some crazy super conference action going on.
Yeah, that would be lit though. I ain't gonna lie, it'd be hard.
Yeah, but talk about the Wolves, man. Talk about West Georgia.
Yeah, just rolling in the GSC play. We're rolling in with a top team in the GSC. It's always been a great game. crazy stat is the home team has never won this game as long as these two
Really?
teams. Yeah, last year we went up there, played them, beat them. So just getting a chance to hopefully break a streak that wants to be broken by both sides. So just another great team. They get to the ball on defense and offense. They're fast and try to make plays. So it'll definitely be a great game. Last year it was a fun game playing against them. The score probably don't show like how close it was, but
Yeah.
it was a really good game. It was a really really good game, especially in the beginning. We played them early in our conference play last year, so it's a great game to see where we're gonna shake up in the GSC.
Yeah, it'd be a good measuring stick for you guys, right? Like a
Sure.
really prove it game, especially coming off last week. But
Yep.
the last thing I kind of had for you is obviously coming off last year with a
Mhm.
guy like David Durden, who found his way onto the 53 man in Dallas.
Yeah.
A big question is who's going to be the guy coming into the next year. And now you've got guys like John Giles, Caden Leggett, KJ Franklin, like those guys all out here making plays. And it seems to be right now a pretty balanced passing attack. Not asking you to pick a favorite, but I'm kind of asking you to pick a favorite. Is there a guy that feels like, maybe separating himself head and shoulders to be the true number one for you guys down there?
No, I really don't think so. Like, really, that whole
Good
room
answer.
is.
Good answer.
Nah, but got to see a practice, you would really be like that room is just like each guy does something where it's just like, all right, that's his thing, like that's his
Okay.
go-to. We got really 4 to 5 guys who are really just like elite at what they do, and like people see our numbers is like, oh, there's not a guy really with like 15 to 20 catches yet, and they played 3 games where it's really like each time that dude has touched the ball, they probably already have a touchdown or they done something crazy, with the ball running after the catch. So, that all them guys in the room really have something they're great at. And, I feel like our coaches put a crazy plan together throughout the week to make sure, we put them in that opportunity to make the play and, just really just let those guys just go out there and, really just do what they do best.
Yeah, and they bring some different stuff as far as like physical attributes too. You look at John and Caden, like bigger targets, 6'2", 6'3", over 200 pounds. Guys are gonna have a larger catch radius, and then mixing a guy like KJ Franklin, who's a smaller, about you said 5'10" on the roster. So I don't know what he is in real life, but get him out in space, get him to be moving around and shifty, which has got to be pretty fun to have all those different skills.
For sure, just really, like I said, just let those guys do what they do best and, get the ball in their hands. And it's crazy. Like, you really don't know what might happen. Like, you might have Caden last week, he caught a hitch and took it in from 20 yards out after making like 4 guys look crazy. The week before, we had John Lilly caught a hitch and then turned around, ran to the dude, Lilly ran him over and scored like a 70-yard touchdown. And we had, Kobe Quillen making a lot of crazy plays. KJ just getting the ball in space. We got Zach, Buck. He really, whenever his number is called, he coming in clutch, making third down catches. So it's really just that whole room is just like, really, it's a lot of freshmen in there, sophomores that are just juniors. It's crazy. Like all them boys really make. Coach D got a room for sure.
They got a dude throwing to him too, man. I know you ain't gonna talk about that, but they got a dude throwing to him. That's all I got for you, Peewee. I appreciate you, bro.
So.
Of course, man. I'll be tuned in this weekend, man. Good luck to you guys heading into conference play, and like you said, gearing up for what should be a nice run for y'all.
For sure.
Sweet.
I appreciate you.
See you, brother. Appreciate Peewee coming on, man. Always great to have him back. He's a good dude, good personality, good energy, and a hell of a football player. So excited to see what those guys do this weekend and moving forward in the Gulf South. Talk about that super conference. GLIAC Gulf South geographically makes zero fucking sense, but man, the football would be electric too. I think kind of different styles of ball, but a lot of really great teams in those two conferences. But anyways, I want to talk about our players of the week selections. Show them right up here and just kind of run through. We had offensive, defensive, and special teams player of the week for Division 2, 3, and NAI. First guy right here, Jordan Terrell, man. Barton. We're going to talk about Barton here in a little bit. 26 carries, 256 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Dude balled out. They got a big win behind a lot of his carries. That was the first guy I feel like we had to nominate. Another guy that might have been number 2 for me, Kyle Sheets from Slippery Rock, had like 200 yards, 3 tuds on a ridiculously low amount of catches. He was averaging like so many yards per catch. So shout out Kyle. He was definitely my 1A, 1B right there. But I think we give the nod to Jordan this one, the way that he impacted his team and picking up a really competitive win. Also with these stats on the ground, just really impressive. So shout out to him. But moving on to our defensive player, we had Trey on earlier in the week. You talked about his stat line. Oh my goodness, I almost ran out of room on the graphic. 2 interceptions, 77-yard pick six. He had 2 PBUs, an 88-yard punt return touchdown. He also blocked a point after attempt, returned it for a 2-point conversion. Dude was all over the field. Craziness. So we had him on. Make sure you listen to last episode if you want to hear him talk about that win for Shorter University. They've got Delta State this weekend. Should be an exciting one for those guys. Diari Rogers from Lenore-Rhine. 5 punt returns for the kid. 170 yards and 2 tuds. That's enough for Special Teams Player of the Week. Big time win for them. I believe they blew out their opponent this last week. That's a squad that is finding seemingly their rhythm at the right time. Division III wise, JJ from Cortland. In a loss to Susquehanna, he had these numbers: 5 receptions, 250 yards, and 2 tuds. My math, once again, not great. That's 50 yards a pop for number 4 for the Red Dragons, man. Shout out to him. That is an incredible stat line. Defensively, Rossi Moore, 11 tackles, 6 tackles for loss. That's a single game record for Mount Union, which, again, any record you can have at a program like Mount Union, if you can set a record like that, you know the type of dudes that have come through that program, the excellence, the standard of winning. You set a single game record like that, we're going to throw you on the list. So Rossi, shout out to you, my friend. 4 of those were sacks. Big time plays from the Purple Raider there. This one, the stats may be deceiving. Dominic Wynn, our special teams player of the week in D3 for Susquehanna, that same game, 2 fumble recoveries. Those both ended up being scoring chances for the Riverhawks, a big reason why they won that game. One of them set up the game-winning score. So you might say, oh, not a lot of stats. The impact that this man had in that game cannot be surmised in a couple letters. So shout out to him. Big-time players make big-time plays. He did it in a pretty big-time moment. NAI Offensive Player of the Week. This one's on me. It's Jack Perka, not Jake. I apologize. I don't know why I had it written down the wrong way. Jake, don't care what his name is. Dude balled out. 28, 45, 407, and 2 tuds. Jack, I apologize. But either way, brother, over there at Carroll, this dude was slinging the pigskin around. Defensively, Damon Burns-Mitchell here. 10 tackles, 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery for University of the Cumberlands. And another guy over there from Cumberlands. Again, the stats, maybe not crazy from Jabatassian here, but 2 for 3 on field goals, 5 punts, which is about 30-yard average, which isn't crazy, but had a lot of those punts within the 20-yard line. So it was his ability to be able to pin the teams and give the offense of the opposing team a super long field is what we felt gave him the edge in this award. But as always, if you guys have players that you think should be nominated for a Player of the Week award, please, like I'm begging you, please, because it is so hard to cover everything. DM us, Instagram, Twitter, wherever you feel like it. Shoot us an email, division1rejects@gmail.com. I don't care. Contact us somehow. If you got my cell, call it. You know what I mean? Because I can't possibly see all these guys. It's just too difficult. There's too much going on. But I do my best. I want to make sure that we're recognizing guys. We'll definitely be doing that moving forward. Let's talk about some Division II games, though. Barton at Mars Hill. This is one that if you saw on our Instagram, actually, I can pull it up, but we did another release of those AI matchups, and Barton and Mars Hill was one of the matchups that we featured in our most recent Instagram post. I'll pull them up here. We can look at those first, actually, because, man, these are so cool. Look at that. It's a fucking gorilla. This is the Nebraska-Kearney Pitt State game. Obviously, the Lopers, as in like antelopes from Nebraska-Kearney, and I've got them like set in the jungle because this game is at Pittsburgh State. Their stadium, yes, is called the Jungle. So what more appropriate than that man right there may as well be Trace Jeffries. D1R athlete Trace Jeffries, the offensive lineman for the Pitt State. May as well be him standing right there. That is an imposing dude. Anyways, that was the first one. But, man, these are every week. These are going to be so much fun to work on. Here is Bethel versus St. John's. St. John's is the Red Storm, which I didn't really realize, but there you have it. Bethel's mascot is a lion. A little NAIA matchup. We got Midland, the Vikings there, kind of landing ashore, and then the Mustangs from Morningside getting ready to greet those guys. And then moving forward, here's the one we're going to talk about, Barton and Mars Hill, the Bulldogs. I'm always game for an English Bulldog matchup. They are in mountain lion territory. Those things look ferocious. They look hungry. But Bulldog ain't no slouch now. Bulldog ain't no slouch. And then our last one was Hardin Simmons at Endicott. How do you make seagulls look intimidating, you might ask? You put a shit ton of them on the screen at once. A swarm of seagulls. There you have it. Purple Cowboy trying to fend off the flock. There's your AI-generated picks for the week. But, man, again, once again, if you want to see your team on one of these, shoot me a message, man. I'm always open to doing that stuff. But fun stuff. Let's talk about this matchup, though. Barton and Mars Hill. And you look at two teams that have had some pretty solid success this year. Mars Hill sitting at 2-0 right now. They did not have a week 1 game, and Barton is 3-0 with their most recent win, a close one, coming over UVA Wise, and 28-24, and that would be the game. We talked about Jordan Terrell. Their game on the ground right now looks really incredible because, not obviously just because of him, but in a big part because of him. They're looking really good on the ground. You're looking at the stats here. They have 35 first downs rushing compared to 15 passing. So maybe not the most balanced offense in the world, but that's fine because if it is working, you don't need to change it. They have 831 yards on the ground as a team this year. That is really impressive. Through 3 games, Jordan is averaging 200 yards per game. He's already got 4 tuds on the year. He's averaging about 9 yards per carry out of the backfield for the Bulldogs. So I think it's obvious if you're a Mars Hill fan what you need to do to slow down this offense. But it's obviously a little more multidimensional than that. They've got some guys who can make plays out on the outside. Jaquan Lynch there at quarterback for them. But and that's the name of the game. I mean, it's pretty simple, to be honest. If you can shut down that running attack for them, you're going to be doing all right. Mars Hill, 2 wins, both against pretty quality opponents. The first one being over Wingate, who we thought potentially was going to be, a top 25 team throughout the entire year this year. A lot of hype coming around those guys. They pull out that win 15-10 in week 2, and then Catawba 35-20. And this team, those are 2 quality wins for them. And if we look at some of the stats for the Lions, the Mountain Lions, which, by the way, is kind of what's the difference between a mountain lion and a wildcat? Talking about these guys a little bit, man. J.R. Martin, quarterback for them. And looking at kind of the bigger contributors for these guys, John Gillette out of the backfield is kind of the one to look at. 156 yards per game right now. Only through 2 games, I know, but still gonna be a force for them. Their defense has certainly stepped up. Holding that Wingate offense to 10 points is something very impressive. So, I don't know if I'd pick a favorite in that one. Barton feels to be like on a roll right now, so wouldn't be surprised to see either of those guys pull out that game. Another one I want to talk about, number 17, Indianapolis at number 4, Saginaw Valley. Should be a very interesting one. Saginaw Valley coming off a week where, Truman State had their number last week, so don't be surprised if they come out a little pissed off. This next stretch for Saginaw Valley, man, last week they were at Truman, then they go Indianapolis, Grand Valley State, Ferris State. Man, that is the gauntlet if you are a Cardinal. But 21-7 loss last week for Saginaw. They're going to be super fired up for this one. Indy, 2-0, convincing wins over Hillsdale and Wayne State. They come into this one with a lot of confidence, and rightfully so. They're playing some really good ball right now. Should be interesting to see how that shakes up. Nebraska Kearney at number 3, Pitt State. Pitt State has found their rhythm in some games. Some of them been a lot more interesting. These last 2, you look at Fort Hays at halftime. They were behind. They trailed, turned it on in the second half. Central Missouri, 38-37. They just barely eke out that win by 1 point over the Mules. This one, I'm expecting this to be a little bit closer than people think. Nebraska Kearney, I think, brings a lot to the table, especially offensively, if we pull that up here. They're 1-2 right now, but certainly don't let that number dissuade you. They lost a close one by 3 points at Central Oklahoma in week 1, and then just lost most recently to Missouri Southern 13-18. So their margins are very small on these losses, and I think that's something we're going to see in this Pitt State game. Would certainly feel like Pitt State is going to pull this one out, but I would feel like the Lopers are going to keep this very competitive, especially at least in the first half. See here, pulling that up. So definitely don't be surprised by that. Pitt State, though, maybe see them look to come out and be dominant, have a little bit more of a wire-to-wire victory, which has kind of eluded them up until this point. TJ Davis for Kearney is a name that a lot of people have heard. We had a lot of hype coming around him for the rushing attack there. He's got 200 yards on the year already. Only averaging 58 per game, though, is something that they are certainly going to want to get up. But in the passing attack is where he gets a lot of his work done. And right now he's averaging 200 yards. He's got 4 tuds to 2 interceptions. So turnovers are going to be a key part of this Nebraska Kearney offense. Can they hold on to the rock? Can they maintain the rock? And if they can do that, they're going to be in the game with Pitt State. But if they do have those turnovers, they do have penalties, they shoot themselves in the foot, the game could get ugly. The game could get very ugly. So finally, though, another game I wanted to talk about. Colorado Mines, number 2 in the country right now at CSU Pueblo. Is this safe to say like this is the RMAC title game right now? Is that ridiculous to say that? Kind of, because CSU Pueblo is 1-2, which is really crazy. You can certainly make the argument that Western Colorado is there, but they're 2 losses at Grand Valley State in double OT, and then versus Western Colorado, who is a really solid squad. So we'll see that, between Western Colorado and CSU Pueblo, both pushing Mines this year to be the potential top dog in the RMAC. Mines sitting at a crisp 3-0 with huge wins over GVSU and Angelo State, the number 3 and 4 teams in the country you've beat. Whew, that's impressive. Dominant win, wire-to-wire win over Adams State last week. And if you look at I'm going to even just peep the box score on this one here. Matoka was 20 for 26 with 341 and 5 tuds. Good Lord. They had a great split in the backfield. They had 3 backs over 40 yards, 5 backs with over 30 yards, with a lot of different carries to different guys. Max McLeod, another 100-yard performance from him. I mean, Mines has consistent offensive players, and we talked about that defense absolutely suffocating that front 7. They only got up 7 points last week. So we'll see what Chance Fuller and the boys over at CSU Pueblo can do. Thankfully for them, it is at home. So look for that, obviously, to be a competitive game. You get into this league play, there's going to be some things that happen. Still taking Mines. But before we get to Jimmy and the D3 talk, some of the D3 games of the week, let's go over to that conversation with JT Cavender from West Texas A&M. Joining the show tonight, reigning All-American linebacker, the current leading tackler for the West Texas A&M Buffaloes, a man who closely resembles the mascot his school represents, JT Cavender. What's up, dude?
What's going on, brother? Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. What do you think about that statement? You feel like you're a Buff guy, huh?
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely, definitely part of the Buffaloes. There's no doubt about that.
Are you guys going to ever lean into that, man, and like all roll up pregame, like wearing a couple pairs of Buffs on your face, or when's that going to happen?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but we actually run out behind a buffalo, a live buffalo, every game.
Like Colorado?
No. Yeah, like Colorado. We I think theirs is Ralphie. Ours is named Thunder.
No.
So it's the exact same thing. Yeah.
Why did I not know that? That's electric.
Oh, yeah, it's cool. And sometimes the herdsmen that run with it, sometimes they'll actually get dragged by it. It's kind of crazy. Yeah.
How big is this thing?
Oh, I think it weighs 800 pounds. I mean, close to 1,000. Oh, it's huge. Yeah. And it's still in its second year. I mean, it hasn't been alive, I think. I mean, don't quote me on that, but yeah. I think it's pretty young. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty cool,
what's the training like to become one of the handlers, like for those guys that bring it out and, manage that?
Well, I think they do training on their own, but we also do run-throughs before game days, and we try to get it acclimated to all the noise and us screaming behind it. So, really? Yeah, they're out there doing that with us and doing some pre-practice runs. It's pretty cool.
Is that one of those things where you've got I know a lot of teams at practice will get speakers and do crowd noise and other things. You guys pump it all in there?
It's exactly like that. Yeah, we play the music on the speakers over the stadium, and then we're behind it screaming as loud as we can.
Dude, that's badass. I gotta.
Yeah.
I'm definitely.
Yeah, we got some guys that are scared of it. They will not get in front of that thing.
It's 800
They will not
pounds.
look at it in the eyes.
Are you shitting
I mean, that thing. You get in front of it, it's gonna kill you. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I'm definitely ripping a clip of that. I gotta find that, dude. That's awesome. But that's not the only exciting thing about the start of the year for you guys. Now, obviously, week 1, tough loss on the road against what we're finding out is a really quality Western Colorado team with a big win over CSU Pueblo last week. But you've bounced back, like you said before we started recording, man, and open league play with a dub over Midwestern State. Tell me about the start of the year. And like you said, you're pretty proud of these guys for bouncing back in the fashion that they did.
Yeah, I think, we played okay defensively in the Western Colorado game. Obviously, through the third quarter, we held them to 14 points. Didn't really start off like we wanted to. We let them get a opening drive touchdown, which was kind of demoralizing. But after that, we stopped them a couple times, and then there was a sudden change. We threw a pick, and they ended up scoring again. But we held them 14 points until the fourth quarter, and I really knew that we were on the cusp of something great, but we just didn't get to tap into it that game. And so, after that game, we came back to work, and we had the best week of practice we've had, and I guess since fall camp. And we came out and beat Midwestern State 23-0 and held them, gave them a goose egg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice, dude. I know it's early too, only 3 weeks into the year, but #1 defense in the Lone Star right now. And like I said, that'll matter more after week 11 or whatever it is. But for now, to know that you guys, like you said, have already come a long way and are already performing at that level that's got to be pretty sick, man. It's got to feel nice.
Oh, yeah, we're on the cusp of something great. If we keep practicing like we do and we keep doing our 111s, what we call it, everybody does their job, we'll be just fine. We'll be able to say we're one of the best defenses, and I hope the nation. That's what we're rooting for.
I like it, dude. Where do you feel like this defense, has? I guess if you could, try and name an area, like where do you feel like you've come a long way, or you've grown in a certain area where in the past maybe you might have struggled?
Yeah, well, I think. So we got a new coaching staff this past spring, and so we've had them for this upcoming Christmas will be about a year since we've had them.
Gotcha.
And I think just the main thing with this defense and the way that we've really grown is through just our confidence and being able to know that I can do this on this play, or just understanding our calls and understanding what the DBs are doing and what the D-line are doing, linebackers are doing. And so it's just really been our confidence.
Yeah, that's big time, dude. And like assignment-based football, if you know where you got to be, you can play fucking fast and you can fly around and you can make plays. And that's like, especially a dude at your position over here with you got a cowboy collar, the roll going. What do you got going on under those shoulder pads?
Dude, I used to have the cowboy collar. I actually took it off because I felt like dude, I know, I loved it, and I had nothing against it, but I couldn't look, I couldn't react. So I had to take that bad boy off,
Hey, Vander Esch out there in the middle of the field, man, don't catch him lacking. But for a guy in your position to be able to just see ball, get ball, like at the end of the day, yes, there's a lot of assignments, there's a lot of scheme and things that go into football, but when you're on that side of the ball, man, you have to get to the ball carrier. You got to make a play. So I feel you on there. But coming up this week should be a good challenge for you guys at UTPB, in an offense that is averaging 70 points per game, albeit against, you and I know probably not the best competition in the world, but they still, to put up those numbers, you still have to have a pretty competent offense. You guys definitely going to have some things to look out for. Talk about that matchup, man.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely explosive. And, the guy that makes that offense go is their quarterback. He likes to get out of the pocket and throw. And he really extends plays, and it really makes it hard for the coverage, to stay with the receivers. But, after watching their games, I mean, they are explosive, and it's going to be the best test of the year for us so far. And it's something we're really looking forward to because we really want to be tested, and we really want to know how great we can be. And so this is the first step to determining that.
No,
we're excited. Mm-hmm.
And you look at that offense as far as their rushing attack goes. They've got 3 guys that split the workload relatively evenly. How does that change how you maybe approach a matchup where you can't exactly key in on one player who you know is going to get X amount of touches? It could be any of the 3.
Yeah, well, defensively, you're trying to find tendencies, and when you got one guy in that's getting most of the carries, his tendencies. But with 3 running backs, there's 3 different tendencies, and so, and they kind of change them up every play. They're not all the same, and so it gets a little bit challenging when you look at that kind of aspect of it.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And you had already mentioned that quarterback, Kenny, over there. He's been dealing, you said it yourself, extending plays with his legs, getting kind of those, I think that's where a lot of their explosive plays have come from, where you get into that scramble drill. All of a sudden, people are moving all over the place, a lot of moving parts. But as far as their wide receiver room goes, I noticed they have a really good blend of some smaller, shiftier wideouts, and they also have a couple guys who are maybe over 6 foot, got 200-plus pounds on them, and are going to be some bigger targets. So I feel like that's probably going to be one of the bigger challenges for you guys because they should be, on paper in the stat book, pretty balanced offensively, right?
Yeah, I agree. They definitely try to run the ball as much as they can, and they also try to pass it as much as they can. They try to run a balanced offense, and like you said, they have a great rushing attack with 3 running backs that kind of split the load, but then the receivers are just as good, and they help they help out Kenny with getting open and knowing that he's probably going to scramble, and so they don't ever quit on the play, and that's what really makes them good, and what we really have to strive to kind of contain is the receivers and the quarterback. So yeah, you're right. I mean, it's going to be pretty balanced. It's going to be interesting.
For sure. I feel like I know the answer to this, but are you more of a run him down, hawk this guy, or meet me in the A gap type of dude?
Yeah, most definitely meet me in the A gap.
yeah, brother.
There's no doubt about that.
You can take the cowboy collar away from the kid, but you can't take the A gap away, brother.
No, not at all. Yeah, I always get made fun of that because I dislocated my elbow last season, and so I've got a big arm brace on now, and I used to have that cowboy collar, and so everybody was, my coach, he jokes and says that if you look up the definition of a linebacker in the dictionary, you're going to see JT Cavender's picture right there.
Yeah, that, and if you looked up RoboCop, you might pop up on that bitch too with all the different shit you got going on. You got the whole like JJ Watt deal where they got the thing on the arm. Are you wearing I know some of the guys get like a modified knee brace for the arms.
Oh, so my elbow brace that came in the spring was actually too small for me.
Yep.
And so they ended up fitting me with a knee brace, and I felt like I was Tyron Smith, I thought I was too big for my elbow brace, man. But yeah, they ended up sending a bigger one. But sick, it was cool. It made me feel good for a minute.
I love it, bro. I love it, man. Hey, JT, that's all I got for you, brother. I appreciate you a ton, man. I'm excited to keep tuning into you boys as you continue going on the season, because you got still a ton of really big marquee matchups. I mean, you talk about national standings wise, looking down, Kingsville coming up, they sneaked into the top 25, or snuck, I guess, and then even more so down the road, Angelo State, and even in between those matchups, there's going to be some great tests for you guys. So I'm excited to keep tuning in, man.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. You're right. It's a great conference, and we're looking forward to each week and each game that we get to play. So thank you for, letting me be on here. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, man. It was great to meet you over there in Baltimore. I'm excited to just make those type of connections, and now I feel like I get to watch the game and like fuck yeah, I know that dude. Like, he made a play, get me excited, man. So I'm definitely pumped for y'all.
No, you're right, dude. I still can't believe I met you in Baltimore. I mean, I think it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool deal.
It is.
So
it is,
yeah, man. When you hit me up, I was like, man, I got to do this. I think this is really cool. I'm making connections, all the way in Baltimore City, and now I get to go and use those connections in my career and your career. So I think it's pretty cool. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Appreciate you, JT. Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Of course, dude. Thank you.
Appreciate JT coming on. We'll come back now, switch over, D3 side of things. Jim, by the way, did you know that West Texas A&M has a real buffalo that they run out to, just like Colorado?
That is awesome.
Dude,
that's awesome. Simply put.
That's awesome. He says 800 pounds.
Yeah, that's a big animal right there. I'll tell you what.
That's so badass. But yeah, let's talk some D3 games this week. I know you want to start with your kind of your marquee matchup today. Is that what you're feeling?
Yep. So St. John's cracking back into the D1R game of the week, and deservingly so. This is their 3rd ranked opponent this year. Bethel heads to St. John's. This is a huge one for the MIAC. Obviously, both teams coming in with a loss already, and with a loss this week, you can see those playoff hopes kind of start dwindling. Going a little bit downhill. Obviously, St. John's coming off a bye week, pretty sour taste in their mouth after a 28-point loss to Whitewater, which they were winning that game in the 3rd quarter, and obviously kind of fell apart a little bit. So they'll be looking to bounce back for sure against a conference rival and a very formidable conference opponent, Bethel, coming off a 24-0 victory at University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire.
Yep.
Alex Call for Bethel had a nice game last week, 334 yards through the air and 2 touchdowns.
Woo.
So look for them to kind of air it out, I would say, with a quarterback like that. Actually, I was watching the game film, actually, because we have Eau Claire's film, obviously. And running back was making some nice runs as well. He had like 65 yards, I believe. He had a pretty solid game himself.
Pretty balanced attack over there for the
Yeah,
Royals.
yeah.
Did you see the AI one of this game on the
Yeah.
socials? So
Yeah,
I didn't
dude,
realize.
Those AI, dude, that's probably the coolest thing we posted on our pages. Like I'm blown away every time. I know it's like AI or whatever, but you still have something to do with that, obviously. Like that's cool.
Yeah. The Pitt State one, dude, with that gorilla standing there, that one was so sick.
Yeah.
I loved that. That was badass.
And I already know you love doing the mascots that are bulldogs. You know.
Oh yes.
Just honestly, in my head, I'm thinking like, did Kobe just Photoshop Sarge into those pictures?
No, dude. No. It's crazy. But I didn't realize looking at, because I try and do the mascots and looking at St. John's, obviously it's like their handles are always like Johnny Football, like that, those type of things, like the Johnnies. But they're, I guess, like the Red Storm technically, and their mascot is the Thunderbird. So I didn't know all this stuff. So how do you kind of put that into it? So I got this like tornado and lightning was kind of like the best way for me to represent that. So I don't know. That was interesting. I didn't know that. But yeah, those guys, I would agree with you. I think kind of a bounce back and a get back week for them, similar to, I don't think we'll talk about them, but like a UMHB, like the first time they're 0-3 in program history. We'll have to look. I don't remember off the top of my head who they have this week. They have McMurray.
They're not ranked anymore either. So
no, they are number 23 in
the
D3Football.com poll. They're number 23.
I was looking at I must have seen a different one because I saw on one of them at least. Maybe it was the
AFCA.
Maybe. Yeah, there's a couple different ones, but I guess the D3 Football still has them ranked. But I mean,
yeah.
So obviously they've also comes into town. Good teams. So
I would hate to be McMurray this week coming into town. For them, dude, they're going to be so hungry to get that win. So either way, definitely expect them to have a huge bounce back. But tell me about Augustana and Wheaton.
So this is a huge CCIW matchup between these two undefeated teams. There was a couple games this week that could have been the D1R game of the week. This was one of them. There's some really, really tough decisions for me to make this week. Kobe, do you want to take a guess, just a wild guess, how many points a game Augustana is averaging this year?
Through how many, 3 games?
2 games. 2 games.
2 games. 45.
61. 61 points a game.
Against who? Who did they play?
I'd have to
I'll find it.
They scored one of the games. They scored 74.
Jesus.
74 points. Yeah, you might have to look who they played in that one. But I just kind of looked through their schedule, saw some scores, and I could not believe my eyes when I saw 74 points. There's been a couple of games like that in Division III where I know Platteville scored 80 against Lakeland. There was like a 98-0 game too. I don't know if you saw that one. I forgot.
Yeah, it was at Simpson and then home versus Elmhurst were the two wins for that.
That sounds right. That sounds right. Yeah, the Blue Jays had a tough game against the Vikings. But meanwhile, Wheaton has a few signature wins of their own, taking down number 22 Wisconsin Oshkosh. I believe that was 2 weeks ago. And they also took down their conference opponent, Illinois Wesleyan. You always want to win your first conference game, and they did that. 47-16 over the Titans.
Yeah.
So they took that one and just ran with it. Wheaton's just a perennial powerhouse, the Thunder. They expect big things from them all year. I mean, they'll make a push to win the CCIW. I mean, if anyone's going to do it besides North Central, it's going to be Wheaton.
Yeah.
So.
And that front seven for them has looked incredible. Looking at the box score from last game, 284 yards on the ground for the Thunder compared to 50 of their opponent. That is domination of the line of scrimmage. And if they can do that, you can play. I don't care who you put on the schedule. You're going to be in the game. If you dominate the line of scrimmage the way they were. The passing yardage numbers, very similar kind of across the board, but it looks like they were able to seriously get in the backfield, disrupt plays, a lot of tackles for loss, a couple sacks in there. Again, if you're able to do that, that is a surefire way to keep yourself in any game. Looking at, I wanted to find 2 here. I'm assuming the time possession had to be pretty lopsided as well, and it was 36 minutes to 23. That tells you all you need to know about that one, dude.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this games are won and lost up front, especially. I would say I would have to look at this percentage, but when you outrun a team and you have more time possession, you got to be winning that game 8 out of 10 times minimum. Yep. I mean, I'll have to look what the number is on that, but I mean, come on, dude. If you control the line of scrimmage and you run the ball, it's going to wear on a defense.
Absolutely, dude. But yeah, tell me a little bit about this Carnegie and Grove City game.
This is our first President's Conference game on the Division I region slate. This one caught my eye for sure. 2 3-0 teams looking to go 4-0. Number 14 Carnegie Mellon heads to Grove City, and like another game where it was really hard to not make this the game of the week. I had to go with the top 25 matchup. However, Carnegie Mellon has only allowed 10 points through 3 games, including 2 shutouts.
Man.
So if you want to do the math on that, that's 3.3333 points a game. It's just stunning defensive effort all year for Carnegie Mellon. I expect nothing less out of them this week. I expect a low-scoring affair. But Grove City, on the other hand, they average 29 points a game, so they can fill up the scoreboard. They know how to get in the end zone. So this is another – is this good offense going to keep it rolling, or is the defense going to stonewall them? I mean, we're going to have to find out. But 2 3-0 teams looking to take sole possession of the conference. This is a big one. Huge
yeah, I think it's a big
game.
prove-it game for Carnegie. Not that they're 3-0. You could argue how much they have to prove, but looking at their strength of schedule through the first 3 weeks with Geneva, St. Vincent, and Waynesburg, just squads that, again, just about everyone who probably predicted schedules at the beginning of the year probably predicted Carnegie would go 3-0 through those games. Now it's, as you start to get into some more of this conference play, it's let's do it against a team that maybe we aren't expected to, go out and have that same result. So it sounds weird to say it, but prove it game for the Tartans over there.
Yeah, and it's a prove it game for Grove City as well. I'm sure a lot of people are just overlooking them like, Grove City, they're going to play, are they going to take down Carnegie Mellon? Are they going to give them a good game? I think they will, personally. Especially being at home against a ranked team, they're going to be bringing the juice all day.
For sure.
All day.
With you on that, dude. But yeah, bring us to the next one.
This is a huge OAC conference matchup. Just a heavyweight battle. 2 3-0 teams. Is Mount Union on upset watch? I mean, this could be like a game that kind of slowly walk into. Muskingum, good program, 3-0. But Mount Union is Mount Union, and they're the Purple Raiders, and they're going to come in there, and I think they're going to have a very, very effective game, being that their defense only allowed 3 points a game. Just defense all over the D1R slate this week, but Mount Union, 3 points a game? Are you kidding?
Yeah.
That's
sure.
Just absurd. And then, this is a tough one for me because this is another one. Could have been a D1R game of the week, but I had to go with the St. John's Bethel game personally.
Yeah,
but
I hear you. And looking at these OAC standings from last year, I know I talked a little bit about this before, but this has been Mount Union's conference. You have to go back to like 2015 to get another name who has actually won this conference, even though, respectively, like John Carroll and Baldwin Wallace have put together some really quality years, like in very recent history. We saw John Carroll, the Blue Streaks, absolutely trounced Baldwin Wallace just last week, so look for them to definitely make a push in this conference. But I'm looking at the 2022 standings right now, Jimmy. Muskingum, they were the 5th in the conference, sitting at 4-5. So for them to start out hot this year, start rolling with that momentum, not to say they're going to go in there and steamroll Union, but maybe they do make a push, if not for that one spot, for the 2 or 3, and kind of usurp, a John Carroll or a Baldwin Wallace from those spots that feels like haven't moved around in quite some time.
Well, you know what they say, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best, and they have an opportunity to do that this week against one of the best programs in all of Division III. So.
Amen, dude. Yeah. Anything else that kind of caught your eye this week?
I will say this. Last week, the Blue Devils took on the Gustavus Adolphus Gusties.
Yep.
Jack Breitenbach,
the wide receiver.
Yes, back-to-back games with 200-plus receiving yards.
Damn.
He had a nice game against us. We took the victory last week, Royal Devils. But you got to give credit where credit is due. This kid's an incredible player. He's making plays all day. Look for him to continue to roll with. He's now leading the country in receiving yards.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 400. He's got like 490 something, I want to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
Another one I had kind of highlighted on here. If we're talking OAC, especially number 17, John Carroll at Heidelberg, which is another one of those squads in the OAC. They had a kid, and I'm totally blanking on his name now. They had a kid last week with 3 interceptions that was potentially going to be our defensive player of the week there, but then Rossi Moore came in and took that spot over. But big OAC matchup there for, I think, a very similar situation that we just talked about. A team like John Carroll, who has seemingly found their stroke. They look really solid, but Heidelberg has put together a couple quality seasons. Their defense feels really staunchy right now and not going to let up a ton of points. So that could be interesting. It's at home for Heidelberg, so look for them to keep that one very competitive. But otherwise, nothing exactly that jumps out. Number 5, Hardin-Simmons at Endicott. Endicott's a team that when they scheduled this game, I think they kind of raised a lot of eyebrows because this is one that Endicott being up in like the East Coast area, it's like in New England-ish area, for them to make that kind of scheduling decision with a Texas team from the ASC, right? Like that's pretty crazy stuff. And they also have a really good squad up there. I believe they sit at trying to pull up their schedule right now, but it's just giving me a hard time.
Are they the Northeast Athletic Conference? Is that
the NEAC? I'm not sure.
I know there's a couple New England conferences.
Looking at their schedule though, they're 2-1 right now. Their one loss coming to number 18 Ithaca. That was a 3-point loss. That's a tough one for them, but they're going to be a really solid squad this year. And the rest of their conference, admittedly, not the best strength of schedule. So this Hardin-Simmons game, they schedule these kind of games because if you can pick up a win in that environment, if you already have a loss or two on the schedule, this is something that's going to help you get into the playoffs, especially in the D3 level. You need those kind of playoff points. So excited to see what the Cowboys do, taking them on at Endicott's home turf over there. So it's a long trip, man. It's a long trip.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you got to go from Texas to whatever it is, like New York or Connecticut or something. I mean, I would hope they're flying. I hope.
Right? But you never know,
yeah,
bro.
I mean, I think that's a safe assumption to make, I would say.
Yeah, you literally never know, man. You would hope so, but there's a lot of shit that goes on, and some of these guys are just stuck out in the dry, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I think we covered most of the bigger, more notable matchups, dude.
Now there's not really a huge matchup, but a very big rivalry week. Loris versus Dubuque is a huge rivalry. Obviously, those teams are not really doing too hot, but that's something I definitely wanted to mention because I know one of my buddies, John Kreidler, is a Loris Duhawk. He actually just graduated, and he was always like telling me, like, dude, you got to cover Loris versus Dubuque. You have to. I'm like, all right, man. Like, I'll mention it for you. It for you. So.
I love it, dude.
Yeah,
Loris versus Dubuque. There it is. Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, I haven't heard. Do you know anything about that rivalry over there?
There's in-state rivalry. They've been playing. They probably matched up like 25 times. I want to say. I think I looked at that earlier. It was actually 21 matchups. 21 matches. I remember looking at it earlier, but kind of a newer rivalry.
The Key City Champions. It's called the Key City Clash. It began in 2008.
Yep. Maybe the Key City Classic began in 2008, but they played longer than 2008.
Okay.
I want to say. Yeah. But I mean, that must have been when they started the trophy or whatever it is.
No, it definitely was because this record goes all the way back to 1909.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it says the official Key City Clash began in 2008, but this has obviously gone. This has gone on for much longer. Now, looking at the winner of this, dude, the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games have gone to the Spartans. So Loris has been coming out on top of this one for quite some time. We'll see if that changes. The scores, too, have been very competitive. They won in overtime in 2022, 17-14 in 21, 37-31 in 2019, 49-42, 27-24, like every single time. But they're pulling out the victory every time, but it's like the margins are ridiculously small. So that makes for a great rivalry game.
Yeah, when I hear that number, whatever it was, 11 games in a row, close games, I think of one other in-state rivalry. Oh, dude, it makes me sick. I'm not even gonna say it. But we all know that there are some very big rivalries that have been a little lopsided, but it does not mean it's not a huge rivalry.
It doesn't distinguish the rivalry. Tech's off to a hot start this year too. They look good, man. They've got another matchup at Upper Iowa. I don't know if I think they're traveling on their home, but they have Upper Iowa this week, and I think that'll be another convincing win for them heading to GLIAC play. They should be 3-0. So we'll see. They had a tough.
They beat a really good Platteville team last.
I was going to say they barely pulled that one out down at Platteville. I was surprised they made that trip down there.
Yeah. I shot JT text after the game. He was hyped. He was really excited.
That
was big for us too. That was big for us too, because we took a loss earlier. And anytime someone in the WIAC loses, that's good for the Devils, So.
Damn, Jim, playing on their downfall. I love it. But sweet, dude. I appreciate you. I think we covered all the meat and potatoes for this week, man.
I believe we did.
Sweet.
We did.
Thank you, Jimmy. Appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on another episode. We'll be back. I'll be back next week.
Thanks, Kobe.
Cool.
Take care.